There's no He has done it now 4 times in a row. He is your GSL Codes champion. He has done it! 뜨거운 박수로 결승전 대결의 시작됐습니다.
다크, 박용, 태자, 윤영석, 스칼렛, 사샤 호스틴, 디어, 백동주. 아프리카 TV 브레이크아웃 스튜디오 라이브 2020 GSL 시즌 1 코드 S 쇼다운.
10 years going strong. We're in the round of 16 in Group A. This is the final match. Scarlett versus Deer. And
a day of 3 games per set. What did I say earlier? I can't even remember.
I don't know. I think I said it wrong, and then anyways, we just had fantastic
day of game 3s.
A day of game 3s. Thank you. Now Scarlett is looking very strong.
She's looking very cheesy too.
She is. She absolutely is. Deer, I'm having a hard time getting a real handle on where he's at because of how these.
Well, everyone's cheesing him.
Yeah, it's like we don't really know what it looks like when he wants to play a normal game. He's looking more and more perturbed as each game goes on in this group. Anyways, only one of these 2 players moves on to the round of 8. A very coveted spot in the GSL. Very, very hard to get to. Scarlett versus Deer on Eternal Empire. Let's go.
전투 준비 완료. 퍼포먼스로 앞서가다 LG 울트라 기어와 넘버원 에너지 드링크 핫식스가 이번 전투를 지원한다고.
We've got this pro moving across the map, but I've already done 3 games of it. I thought it was one of TaeJa's SCVs
브레이브
coming
스타
out.
게임 스칼렛, 사샤 호스틴.
Do you think TaeJa's in that probe?
Yeah.
TaeJa's.
TaeJa's the 3rd player in the game. Now,
타이지 게임, 디어, 백동주.
now I don't know what to expect. I think for ZVP here from Scarlett. I mean, I think we can agree that there's a chance there's going to be something cheesy, but she's not tied into that. You know, she doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
I think it is different. I think you said it very well when you talked about impact. And it's like, well, sometimes we kind of expect him to do some cheese.
Yeah.
You know, because he doesn't tend to play macro games that well. But when you get a player that is perfectly comfortable and just sitting back and powering up, but is capable of doing, you know, neck-breaking all-ins, that's pretty scary.
Well, it's what you want out of a player, really.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be able to win tournaments and stuff, like look at 2 of our most successful players, Dark and Maru, right?
Yeah.
These are 2 of the players that are really, really, really strong in macro long games, but also will mix in more cheeses than a lot of their counterparts. Rogue's another one.
Yeah.
Rogue will definitely cheese you, no problem.
Well, he had that whole phase where there was so much crazy Nida stuff he was doing as well.
Yeah. It's his favorite. He's a real dirt nerd.
Yeah, he's a scumbag nerd. I like it.
Now, last time they played this map, this was the double Oracle waiting map in 2 Glaives.
Right.
The pylon placement's the same for Deer as when he did that. We'll see if it's the same build or not.
You also have to imagine that Deer has come here with a lot, like plenty of PVZ builds, you know, with 2 Zergs in the group.
He probably assumed he'd play 2 PVZs minimum.
Yeah, exactly. And so you have to expect he's going to have a wider range of very prepped builds this time around. Now we have the Robo that's been thrown down immediately. Just to highlight again what we've talked about with PVZ, it does seem like Protosses need to get in there with something pretty sharp and specific to interrupt the Zerg's growth.
Yeah, we haven't been seeing many Robo first builds lately at all.
No, this is a rarity.
Yeah,
So
it's been mostly Twilights and some Stargates.
yeah. And we shouldn't be surprised that we're seeing it because of the possibility of the number of PVZs that Deer was probably going to have to play. But this is, on the more kind of
I have met the enemy.
weirder builds. This is, and what that also means is that this is not a build you can use repeatedly. Kind of like
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa. That was unexpected.
Immediate robotics bay.
Like,
With the
I
Warp
have
Prism on the
seen
way.
Disruptor drops in this matchup, but that was a very long time ago in a very niche build that was almost never used. But it looks like that's what this is going to be. That's wild.
Well, Scarlett can dish it out with crazy builds. The question is now, can she handle it?
This is definitely not something you practice against.
Well, good players are trying to imagine every possible strategy, timing attack, tactic that can come out of there. I don't know if this is one that's inside the mental real estate of Scarlett. I don't know if this is something that she's ruminating on
Totally.
at all. And by the way, it's masked pretty intelligently because there's adepts coming out now.
Yeah, this
So,
looks
like,
pretty normal. And
you're
you're going
like,
to see a
oh, okay.
Prism and be like, oh, more Adepts. Okay.
Yeah, okay,
So I
whatever.
better make Ling and Roach, right?
And there's also Warp Prism speed being upgraded. So
Yeah.
now I want to point out, this has to do damage quickly though. This it's
Prism's going right back, so
Yeah.
I think that this was like a gigantic mind game.
there's going to be a link drop.
Oh, that's so smart. I love it.
Yeah, and this actually could screw up the entire build here for Deer.
It really can. That is a really nice move. Well, it gets scouted, so.
Yeah, but I mean the threat's there. Obviously, it would be better if it wasn't scouted and it came in there and
Yeah.
dropped. But
Look at this. So
look at
double
Colossus next and 6 gates
Yeah.
Artosis.
Yeah, I recall last time I saw a build that looked like this. This is kind of like what the follow-up was, where you actually just hit a massive push afterwards, harass as much as possible. Because disruptors don't really scale super. Well, I think they could, but no one uses them. So there's,
Oh, three drones. That's a start.
Yeah.
But so far, it's not enough to bring her to a finishing point.
It's really not doing that well so far.
Yeah, well, I think we're starting to see.
Oh my God.
This is illustrating pretty quickly here why we don't have this unit even used that often, let alone this tech in this matchup. But again, the follow-up push, sometimes you can shift the units that they wanted to make into something that can be offset pretty easily by a push like this. But the more I've seen this game unravel for the Protoss, the more I'm getting worried here.
Yes.
It just doesn't. This doesn't look like a push that's going to do much.
Deer hasn't executed anything all that well. It's all
Right.
been defended very well from Scarlett's side.
In a Protoss's perfect world, you basically killed off 8 or 9 drones already, and you didn't have any warpins interrupted.
So just gonna go ahead and deal some damage to that spine start.
Okay, big surround here, an attack from behind.
Yeah, the surround of the Lings doesn't really do that much. The Colossus cleans that up very, very
Yeah,
quickly.
the Colossus really makes it hard for Lings to be effective at all
Yeah.
because of the splash.
And the Disruptors make it kind of hard to hit it with Roach Ravager, right? Those Disruptor balls are going to come out in just a second here. Should be able to zone some things back. All right, hits
Warp
those two
Prism.
queens.
Warp Prism. Oh, I'm sorry, the Warp Prism's actually still there. Excuse me. More Warpins are coming, and maybe Deer's actually done it.
Yeah, it
Things
does
are
look
thinning
like
out
it.
here for Scarlett. It is only sentries, an adept, and these. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
GG.
That was cool.
Well,
The Colossus really erased the Lings that she had in there, and she just didn't have the critical mass to break it the first time and lost too many units.
didn't seem like she has to deal with a push like that very often, because I think the idea was,
certainly.
in most cases, it's not bad to surround in a timing attack like that, but with the Colossus, it's just
Yeah, it
You're just
wiped
throwing
them
Lings
out.
away.
Yeah.
The Colossus turns around, kills the Lings immediately. You've done no additional units, damage to the units behind.
Yeah, it was kind of a tricky build. I think that was very clever for Deer to bring out.
Okay.
I think he probably had that plan for Dark, to be honest.
You think so?
Yeah, for sure. Because this is the second time he played the map. He knew he was playing Scarlett first. Probably thought he would win and play Dark, right? And that was a very tricky build. Like that's something that can throw anyone off one time.
I'd be curious to see what Scarlett's thinking right now. You know, she has the option to do a crazy aggressive build. It's worked more than it's failed. We don't know what other tricks Deer has up his sleeve. He's clearly coming here very prepared. I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Scarlett has to win 2 more games in a row to advance to the round of 8.
It's doable, but
man, I don't know. Let's go ahead and hop into game 2 and see what happens. Scarlett versus Deer, continuing on.
전투 준비 완료. 브레이브스타 게임 스칼렛 사샤 호스틴. 타이지 게임 디어 백동준.
Ro getting there just in time to force the hatchery to be made elsewhere.
That was a really cool strategy.
Yeah, yeah.
I do think Scarlett's at fault for losing to it, considering that the disruptors didn't do a lot. You know, the Warpins were actually slowed down a bit, but I do wonder how much she's experienced that, you know, that kind of strategy.
Like probably 0 or very close to 0.
Yeah.
You never really see that, and I think that, like, it seems quite brilliant to me that he busted that out one time here tonight. I don't think he'll use it again in the tournament.
Oh, I imagine he won't. But those builds are a well-kept secret, you know?
Yeah.
When you bring out something that just makes the other players scratch their head.
Yeah, and disruptors, like, generally Lings are pretty good, right? But then he makes 1 Colossus and gets a decent amount of sentries and pushes out really, really quickly with a heavier anti-Ling force, and then 2 disruptors against Roach Ravager. That's like, you can be very efficient with those.
Yeah, of course.
So that plus that many force fields, like, it all kind of fit together really well. It was very well executed build from Deer. Even if he didn't do that much harassment damage, I don't think the harassment damage was the most important part of it, right? It was that follow-up push. Well, let's see what he does this time.
Yeah, there could still be some other odd builds. I think you pretty much nailed it, though. I don't think we're going to have that used again in the entire tournament. Again, you know, Protosses have gotten very, very creative against Zergs. They've really figured out how to make the game very unpredictable, where to hide stuff, when to fake an attack versus when to commit, where to go during that attack, for instance, with Shades or with Warp Prisms. And
Twilight and Robo. Is this just going to be like an Archon drop, you think?
It's just a very run-of-the-mill PvZ build, maybe.
It could be.
The Archon drop is one of the older, you could say build, but really it's more almost like of a technique. There's a lot of different places you can bring the game to. Yeah. It's,
Glaives, never mind.
Okay, never mind.
Nothing so exciting as an Archon drop. Good old Glaives.
Well, Deer's, so far, I think in the games we've seen of him, in 2020 seems to lean in a little bit more on Glaives. So do a lot of the good Protoss players.
Yeah, everyone's very.
It seems like everybody's deciding to have, you know, this early game of Glaives, and you know, how committed am I, and if I am, where do I go? If not, what do I tech into after that? Can I make a certain number of adepts, show you that, and then make a lot more behind it, and throw you off? I mean,
yeah, you know, I was saying the other day, I never thought the day would come when I missed Oracle openers. But the amount of Glaives I'm seeing, I'm like, I don't know, guys. It's like, We're just really trying to trick those Zergs out with this that hard.
I dig it. I think this is kind of cool. I want to see how long it can go for, because the Zergs will catch up. By the way, 14 Lings, as well as a Roach Warren coming down here now.
You know, I like the Glaive builds when Zerg plays very well against it. But it feels like about probably 30% of the time the Zerg just dies because they don't follow the shades correctly one time.
Yeah, it does happen. It's hard to make the right call, though.
Yeah.
Your shades do not have a lot of vision. That was one of the first things they fixed.
Yeah.
Was the ridiculous vision.
Oh, you could see everything. It was
yeah,
so
and
sick.
so you're just like, well, am I safe or not? And then now you don't know, and so Zerg players can kind of stay back. Like, this one will not be a commitment.
No.
See, guys, that's why I'm casting. Damn.
So good.
So good, man. No, here we go. The push is going to be coming, though, for real very soon. But I don't think there's much of an opening here.
Yeah, it does actually splits up the Adepts. Look at that.
Oh, that was masterfully done.
Yeah. Adepts kind of everywhere. Let's see how many drones are actually killed off.
All right.
8 already.
Yeah, and more warp-ins to come. And actually, a lot of the Adepts still being pulled out down here. Now, these Adepts will be wiped out.
All right, all right. I mean, if she doesn't lose any more drones here, I think that this is still okay.
Yeah, it seemed like it was going fine until the Adepts actually just couldn't get back out.
Yeah, losing that many Adepts, there's really not much of anything at home for Deer. No third base, making an immortal. That it's like, I think there's a Stalker there too, and that's it.
Right.
Now Deer is starting to add some other units. It looks like it's going to be a 2-base all-in that follows this up, maybe? I know that a Nexus is being made, but... Well, actually, with the Forge coming up, I guess you're going to wait for +1, right? You don't just make a Forge for looks.
No. No, you do not. Spire coming here. And, like, I'm trying to figure out, you know, with that attack that came out there, it's like, what is a transition going to be here for Deer? Just a normal...
If you're going to play
standard game?
Normal game, so it's going to be an immortal push generally. If you play a more macro-oriented one, you have to go Blink because the Spire is scary, right? Otherwise, because Mutas will just kill you if you don't go Blink with this. Oh, that was.
Oh, look at that! He actually flies back out. Is this going to get away though?
No.
No, and so. You know, Deer just trying to commit a little bit further to get a little bit more damage and ends up suffering quite a loss.
And, of course, scouting that Spire was pretty important. Actually throws down Stargate. Okay. All right, looks like the push out is coming. Scarlett's army is very small right now, 5 roaches.
Yeah.
You think 5 roaches beats this army?
I don't think so, Artosis. And there's 3 immortals here, so even with more roaches coming, it appears that this is a real threat. Now, Scarlett is pretty crafty, you know, when it comes to holding off attacks, but I mean, these units are really a problem.
Yes.
I mean...
And you can't really afford going into this right now.
It almost seems like Deer is respecting Scarlett a little bit too much. He's backing off.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely had a much better army there. I think he could have at least poked a little bit, but being very careful, as you said. If there was, for instance, a bunch of Lings back there, then he can also take a lot of damage. Okay, Baneling Nest on the way, +1 melee. Phoenix is coming out, as well as Blink, so that is a lot of countering going on. And of course, if you force your opponent into Blink, Banelings become amazing against Stalkers.
Well, with the Ling Muta out here now, first of all, Harass makes it's a little bit more risky to try that, right? I mean, yeah, the Warp Prism, I shouldn't say a little bit, it's a lot more. You can get shot right out of the sky. I think a lot more of this game control is going to be going over here to Scarlett for the time being. But is it counterattack viable? Because I see her coming across the map. I don't feel like it would be.
If you're going Mutas, a lot of times counterattacks are the way to play, right? Because you're probably not going to have an army that wins straight up. Mutas for cost actually don't fight very well.
That's true. But they can force a Protoss to really stay back and defend. But
yeah,
it seems like already, Deer, with the 2 Phoenixes out and more coming, it seems like this was actually maybe even a bad investment here for Scarlett. Mutas are units that they have to pay for themselves. We've heard them referred to as active units as well, but I mean, they need to be picking things off. You can't just make them and then use them. You can make them and then use them for big fights against Terran. You can't really against Protoss in the same way.
Now, to be fair, the mutas, just the fact that she has mutas, has forced a Stargate, multiple Phoenix, Blink, and Stalkers out. So the amount of countering that has occurred here, suddenly the ground army is not as strong for Deer as it could have been.
It was only 7 mutas. Now that we're looking at it 2, so that's enough that you need to respond. But
yeah,
it wasn't
you have to
like
take it seriously.
It wasn't like she made 15 or something crazy.
Yeah.
And so this is one of these techniques. If this goes correctly, and it's what her intentions were, it's a way to try to control the investments from the other side, but set up your side to be in a better position when the actual fight comes.
Hey, Muta's going to fly and see what they can get done. It doesn't look like anything, really. Photon cannon plus shield battery. Mutas have a hard time against that. They will be able to pick off a few drone probes here, though. That's about as good as you can hope for in this type of game. Mutas have been countered really heavily.
Yeah, and these Phoenixes can clean this up. There's no real easy way to get away from this. Let's see what happens to those mutas.
I wonder.
I wonder what happens. Now we have a Greater Spire coming here, and we've actually had this before with Scarlett.
Greater Spire?
Greater Spire tech,
Yeah.
With this phase of the game. She's
Well,
very
Broodlords
strong
are still reasonable here, I think.
Yeah, they're still good.
Yeah, with the Banelings especially, if you have this type of standing army, because if the armies get whittled down a bit, the Blink Stalkers can kind of deal with it along with some Psystorm, but can't blink into it if they have.
This is a pretty good link counterattack.
Yeah. Deer has a lot of Psystorm in there.
Yeah, these Lings are doing a lot of damage here. Keep in mind, this is damage that's basically being dealt before anything's happened here for the Protoss. But, excuse me, I stand corrected, actually. The Results taking out that hatchery at the top. And we have another Warpin over there while the main army is doing some pretty good positional play.
Yeah, gonna lose that base for sure. Oh, good Vials right there. Takes down the Warp Prism. Storms go down, but actually mostly miss. Good pullbacks from Scarlett overall.
The Storms actually got a little bit better there, though, in the end.
Oh my
and
God.
These Banes are not quite connected with their targets, and I think that suddenly Deer has a lot more momentum to push through. Scarlett was doing a good job, but really in the end there, Deer just did such a great job controlling and denying that Baneling damage. And although there's more Banelings being made already, Scarlett is on less bases and less tech than Deer.
Yeah, nothing really left over here. Some more Psystorms coming out. Scarlett trying to pull together some sort of defense, but Deer has so much.
Okay, good splitting with these Zealots as if they were Marines, pulling them away from those Banes. But again, the real damage dealers is what's behind those Zealots. And now we have another Warp in here in the main, and I think it's curtains for Scarlett here. GG, Deer wins.
All right. So Scarlett doesn't quite make it through to that round of 8. Very elusive for her here. But Deer, in the first GSL season of the year, making it through.
Planned very well. I'll tell you, Scarlett, she looked so strong. But this was really immaculate PDZ prep here from Deer.
Yeah.
Deer knew what he was up against. He knew that his threats were those two Zerg players, both Dark and Scarlett. And Scarlett, was dealing with the brunt of the excellent builds there from Deer. She's won with a lot of great prepping of her own, but today was not her day.
Well, she'll be back next season, no doubt. She makes it to GSL very regularly.
Right.
Congrats to Deer for making it through to that round.
All right, we're going to have an interview with Deer, the last survivor of Group A to join the round of 8. Congratulations. Thank you. After your 2019 GSL Season 1 run, it's your first time moving on to round of 8. How do you feel? Well, I came here thinking about joining the round of 8 as the first place. But after losing to Scarlett,
제가 올인을 보고도 당해가지고.
I mean, I saw the all-in coming, but I lost it, so I was really disappointed in myself.
스칼렛 선수의 수를 보면서 맞춰간다는 느낌을
In the final match, it felt like you were adapting to the opponent's strategy.
있으셨나요?
So did you have confidence that you would win?
준비를 엄청 열심히 했거든요.
I prepared really hard.
형이랑 병렬이랑 윤수 형이랑 진짜.
And there was Rog, there was Sue helping me with my script,
정말 고맙고.
and I'm really thankful to them.
스칼렛이 딱 운영이란 거를 알았을 때.
And as soon as I knew that Scarlett was opting for the macro, I knew that I had
자,
this.
오늘 경기가 다 예상 밖으로 펼쳐졌는데
And today's games were quite unexpected.
패자전에서 운영을 좋아하는 윤영서 선수가
In the losers match,
빌드들을 꺼냈는데
TaeJa, who often favors the macro games, he opted for the cheese rush. So what do you think about that?
솔직히 생각은 못했는데
well,
그냥
I didn't anticipate it.
안전하게 하자는 마인드로 이렇게 보냈는데.
But my mindset was to play quite passive and safe,
당황스러웠던 것 같아요.
and I was quite startled, to be
오늘
honest.
열심히 저그전을 연습해온 결실이 있습니다.
And definitely your practice definitely bore fruit today.
16강에서도 승리. 그리고 주성 선수도 반대편에 있고.
And now you move on to the round of 8, and luckily Zest is on the other side of the bracket. So what do you think about this season?
지금 굉장히 좀 폼이 조금씩 오르고.
Well, I feel like I'm regaining my form right now, so I'm feeling happy.
오늘 2위 진출했지만.
And today, although I did advance as second place,
실력으로는 자신감 있기 때문에.
I think my skills, I think I'm pretty confident with my skills.
네, 8강에서 B조 1위와
In the round of 8, you're gonna play against the first place of Group B. So there's TY, Solar, Stats, and Cure in that group.
만나고 싶은 선수.
So which player do you want to play against, and which player do you want to not play against?
다 4명 다 만나기 싫은.
I mean, I don't want to play against all 4 of them.
뽑자면은.
But if I had to choose one to play against,
대엽 형이랑 하는 게 제일 좋을 것 같고.
maybe Stats, I would say.
민수랑은 좀 피하고 싶어요.
And I want to avoid playing against Solar because I lost to him quite a lot
전태양
these days.
선수는 생각에 없으신가요?
So is TY is not an option?
태양이는 약간 즐게 많은 것 같아요.
Well, as for TY, I think he just wants to have fun.
네. 아마 2등 진출할 것 같아요. 태양이는.
I think TY might advance as second place in that group.
그래서 나와는 못 만날 것 같다.
So you're saying that you're not
자,
going to beat him?
무사
Okay.
백동주 선수의 힘을 보여줘야 할 때입니다.
And now it's
마지막
time
한마디
for you to
들어보겠습니다.
show how good you are
오늘
here.
좀
Anything you want to say before you go?
패자전으로 가가지고.
Well, I did go to the losers match today. I was quite worried, but I'm going to practice really hard. And I did advance here, so I'm going to show a better performance
네,
next
다시
time.
한번 8강 진출
Once again,
축하드립니다.
congratulations on moving into the round of 8. Thank you.
네, 이렇게 백동주 선수 만나봤고요. 오늘 경기
Thank you,
최종
Andy.
경기 확인해 보겠습니다.
And that does it for Group A. What a group, though.
Yeah, it really was.
I mean, it was, we got every kind of game, every kind of series, really. And I'm a little bit bummed. I think we all are that Scarlett didn't advance.
Yeah,
And, you know,
TaeJa as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to find somebody to root against in this group.
It wasn't hard for me, TaeJa's, but he got through. No, it's well deserved from Deer. He's been such a high level for so long. Good to see him get some results here early in the year.
Dark still with so much momentum behind him. Not finished being the best, being the greatest. Group B will be back on Wednesday, or no, I'm sorry, on Saturday at 1 p.m. KST. So join us then, and we're of course going to be back with Group C on Wednesday, and then Group D on Saturday again at our normal times.
That's right. We see where they're going in the bracket, and we will figure out who they play against.
Yeah, all we know is right now Dark and Deer on opposite sides. They are placed based off who gets first and who gets second in each group. Group B, which is going to be this weekend. Look at that lineup.
I know. Group B is just nuts. It's so hard to predict who's going to come out of there, seriously.
Yeah.
Any two players could make it out.
And, you know, we're not far from the round of 8, which is where it gets even crazier. But we're at the point in time, you know, with StarCraft 2 being such a well-aged game, with so much history, but also so much understanding, with such a sophisticated and complex and developed meta that even the earlier parts of this tournament are so crazy, so fierce. We've had some of the most insane games yet, and we're not even close to the end.
That's right. Well, guys, make sure you tune into that. It's going to be amazing. Cannot wait. It's been a very good day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. that's it, man. It's
That's
good.
it.
2 players went through, and
I want to
more
see
good players are going to go through. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I do want to see more TaeJa and more Scarlett.
Yeah, for sure.
This is really a day where I feel like you and me, but I think everybody who's watching, there's more attention on the people that didn't make it today and excitement about the fact that they could make it again in the future.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big takeaway here. I mean, Dark and Deer are, the players that tend to advance more often. But, man, Scarlett looks so strong.
Yeah.
TaeJa just playing phenomenally.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the 3 times in a row the same cheese against Deer, but
That was a little bit weird.
his series against Dark was
But
just
had
phenomenal.
it worked, we'd be singing his song.
We would be singing his song.
We'd be singing his song for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Scarlett and TaeJa to the next GSL. And, again, Dark, we really got to watch and see, is he going to take this whole thing? He
It's
is
possible.
gearing up to try to win everything in the future. That's all the time we have, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We love you. Stay safe, wash your hands, and have a good morning, afternoon, or night, wherever you are.
스튜디오다. 다음 시간에도 GSL 잊지 말라고.